In today's art lesson, we're going to be looking at another artist called Andy Warhol. He was generally regarded as one of the most famous and successful pop artists of his time. Pop art was an art movement that appeared in the UK and America during the mid to late 1950s. It was very different to traditional fine art, like we've been looking at, as it included images like advertising, comic books, and popular and sometimes sort of thought of as boring, mass-produced objects. Andy Warhol's parents were Russian immigrants who came to America. He was born in Pennsylvania, America in 1928. He was the youngest of three brothers. As a child, he had a serious illness which ended up with him developing a fear of hospitals and doctors. So when he was ill in bed, he tended to draw, and he would later study at the School of Fine Arts at Carnegie Institute for Technology. When he was 21, Warhol moved to New York City, and there he began a career in magazine illustration and advertising. In the early 1950s, he was hired by RCA Records to design album covers. He founded his own studio, and he ended up calling that the Factory. In the late 1960s, he started to use another method for his art, and it was screen printing. He died in New York in 1987, and he left nearly all of his money, which was more than $20 million, so a lot of money, to the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts. In 1962, Coca-Cola started working with Andy Warhol when he began using his famous Coca-Cola bottle in his pop art. So his use of the glass bottles in his painting helped him develop his own style. So here you can see this is his first Coca-Cola artwork named Green Coca-Cola Bottles. There was 112 empty green glass Coke bottles in 7 rows of 16 with the Coca-Cola logo at the bottom. He actually used Coca-Cola ideas in his other works, which received a lot of attention, including a 1962 painting which is considered one of his founding paintings of the pop art movement. The painting was so influential that it was sold at a Christie's auction for more than $57 million, and that was in 2013, so a lot of money. He also made pictures of other everyday objects, and here you can see soup cans. Though the Campbell soup cans art looks like the ads which inspired him, each canvas was hand painted individually. He reproduced the same image across each canvas, and all he did was he varied the label, which was the flavour of the soup, the variety. When he first exhibited this picture, the canvases were displayed together on shelves, so it ended up looking like products in like a supermarket store on one of the aisles. At the end of 1962, shortly after he completed Campbell's soup cans, Warhol decided to turn to the photo silkscreen process. It was a printmaking technique originally invented for much larger use for commercial, and it would become his known method for making art similar to those of advertisements. He also painted portraits as well as objects, and using the silkscreen printing, which was like pushing ink through a screen to make an image, he was able to make copies of the same image from popular culture, often in different colours, as you can see here. The work ends up looking a little bit like graffiti rather than an actual work of art, I would say. He created some of his most famous portraits, celebrities such as Marilyn Monroe, famous actress, Elvis Presley, John Lennon, to name but a few. He also did his own self-portrait. So here you can see the 1967 portrait of Marilyn Monroe, the famous actress. He highlighted the main facial features, so her eyes, her lips, hair, using quite bold, bright colours. He's used the same image, but he's used different colours in each one of them, and colours that wouldn't normally be associated with a portrait, because you can see there, the third one, she's actually got a blue face. This style became known as pop art. This is another example of Warhol using very bright colours in his work. So again, same style, repeated images to make patterns, and in this particular one, he used dollar signs for his artwork. So over the next couple of weeks, you're going to plan, sketch and finally produce a piece of your own pop art. You're going to look at everyday things around your home and choose 6 items to give you ideas for your sketch. I'd like you to take a photo of each one of those 6 items. I've chosen these from my house because these items have different shapes. They also aren't too plain. They've got some detail in them, and that's important when you're doing the pop art. And from your 6 photos, you're going to choose one of those to sketch for this week's task. So I chose my garlic jar from the 6 photos you saw previously. And as you can see, I've used soft pencil strokes to sketch it. Work that came in last week, a lot of it was really, really good, but some of you are actually using rulers to draw lines. That's not what I want to see. You need to be using soft pencil lines. So these are the steps I used to get to my final sketch, which you can see in the bottom right hand corner. I started off with quite a rough outline of the object, and that's where you should start. You should always get an idea for the shape and the size first. Don't go straight in doing detail. And I changed it as I went along. So where I thought, oh no, that's a bit too fat, or that's not wide enough, I changed it. So you need to tweak it as you see fit. Then I started to add in the much larger detail first. And I did that bit by bit. You can see from the 4th, 5th and 6th pictures there how I added it in gradually. And I kept tweaking it, I kept changing it. I wasn't happy with the shape of one of the leaves, I'd change it. So you need to adjust as you go. Then I added obviously the much smaller detail with the little bit of cross hatching on there and the highlighting. And then I used soft shading to try and make the jar look more 3D. And all the time I was doing that, I was looking really carefully at the jar itself. There's no point doing guesswork. You've got an object there to look at, use it, observe really closely, and your picture will end up being so much better. So again, I'm going to evaluate my picture because this is what we need to get into the habit of. So I was really happy with how my sketch turned out. I felt like the shape was quite good in the end. The smaller detail and shading came out quite well. I think the only thing that I would say I wasn't 100% happy with was the shape of the lid. And that's something that I would probably improve if I spent more time on it. So just to recap what today's task is, and you have until, you've got 2 days to do this. So you're going to choose 6 everyday items in your house. You're going to take a photo of each one. And from these 6 photos, you must choose one for your sketch. So choose your objects quite carefully. You need to use soft pencil strokes, no rulers please, to sketch your chosen object. Evaluate your final drawing. So you need to say what you liked about your sketch and what could you have done, do you think, to make it better. Now, before you upload your work, can you please check you have these things so that I don't end up with half-finished tasks. So I'd like you to upload 6 photos, setting them out similar to what I did on one of the slides. Include your final sketch, and most importantly, you need to write your evaluations. Need to write them nice and clear so I understand what you're saying, and in full punctuated sentences. Any questions, just message. Enjoy.